Hi, how are you today? Very interesting. Well, today I'm going to read you a story from this book, Reading for Christian Schools. It's in the third grade book. This is from Bob Jones University. And the story we're going to read today is called The Singing Night. This is two parts called Sir Brian. That's the first part. Long ago and far, far away, there lived a brave and handsome knight named Sir Brian. He wore shining armor and rode on a sleek white horse named Charger. Together they rode into battle with Sir Brian holding his long spear before him. Charger would arch his neck and prance forward proudly whenever Sir Brian gave a command. Then away he would race, faster than sunlight, his mane flowing, his eyes glowing. Now, Sir Brian could fight just as bravely as any knight in the whole kingdom. He had done many brave and knightly deeds. But still, the other knights did not admire or praise him. They would look his way and laugh. They hardly ever spoke to him. Sometimes all the bold knights paraded through a town after a battle. The lovely ladies leaned out of their windows. They cheered the brave knights. When the ladies saw Sir Brian parading by, they started to cheer him too, but suddenly, one after the other, they opened their eyes wide and gasped. Then they giggled so hard that they had to hold their scarves over their mouths. Then they turned away from Sir Brian. They tossed their flowers at the feet of other knights. Wonder why. The awful truth was that Sir Brian was different from every other knight. Everyone could see it, even when he had on his whole suit of armor, for Sir Brian always carried with him a long-necked, stringed lute. It's kind of like an old-fashioned guitar. And everyone knew that no one who claimed to be a brave knight ever played any sort of musical instrument. Music was only played by bards and jesters. Well, that's silly. No matter how bravely Sir Brian fought, no one admired him. They only laughed at him because of his lute. One day Sir Brian rode Charger deep into the forest. When he reached a clearing, he said, "This is where we will stop, Charger. I will play my lute in this quiet place." Sir Brian sat cross-legged in the grass. He strummed his lute and hummed a sad song to himself. Charger contentedly munched the grass nearby. Every once in a while he lifted his head and whinnied. He sounded as if he felt sad for his master. "Ah, Charger, my dear friend," Sir Brian sighed. "I wish you could tell me what to do. I wish people would understand. A knight truly can be a brave knight and like music too. There is really nothing wrong with putting the two together." The light, shimmery music of Sir Brian's lute always made him feel a little better. For a while he just strummed and hummed. "Well, Charger," he finally said, "I know that I won't give up my lute, so there's just one thing left to do. I must leave this land. I must find another land where I can play my lute and be a knight too." Sir Brian swung up onto Charger's back. "I have to tell the king before I leave," he said. "I have to ask him to let me travel to a distant land." So off Charger galloped, faster than sunlight, his mane flowing, his eyes glowing. All right, part 2. Sir Brian and Groggle. As Sir Brian came to the center of town, he saw that the townspeople were in a flurry. A messenger was blowing a horn. "Hear ye, hear ye," the messenger shouted. "The fair Princess Millicent has been captured by the giant Groggle. Any brave and handsome knight who can rescue her will receive a reward. He will be given whatever his heart desires. Hear ye, hear ye." Sir Brian's heart leaped up within him. His one desire was to be loved and respected by the people of his land. He would fight a giant for that. Without wasting a moment, Sir Brian started the quest to rescue Princess Millicent. Away Charger raced, faster than sunlight, his mane flowing, his eyes glowing. Sir Brian arrived at the giant's cave long before any of the other knights. Groggle had the lovely Princess Millicent tied to a rock near one side of the cave. He was ranting. There she is, all tied up. He was ranting and raving and throwing things as only a giant can do. Oh, he's having a bad attitude. There's Princess Millicent all tied up. She's not having a good day either. Sir Brian reached for his dagger. He reached too far, and his hands plucked a few strings of his lute by mistake. When Groggle heard the music, he turned around to listen. Sir Brian strummed the lute again. Groggle stood still. It seems that Groggle likes music, Sir Brian called to Princess Millicent. Perhaps he is smarter than I thought. Princess Millicent was too frightened to reply. Sir Brian kept his eyes on the giant. He put his dagger next to him where he could easily reach it. Then he took his lute and sat cross-legged on Groggle's huge table. He began to play his lute and sing in a soft voice. A lovely tune drifted through the musty air. Groggle stared and stared. Then he closed his eyes and swayed back and forth as if he were thinking of a lullaby. He stayed that way even when Sir Brian put his lute down and cut the cords that bound the princess. Sir Brian lifted the princess onto Charger's back. Then suddenly Groggle's eyes opened, and he came at them howling. Sir Brian barely had time to grab his lute. Then he leaped on Charger's back behind Millicent. Charger raced away, faster than sunlight, his mane flowing, his eyes glowing. They came to the bottomless river. Charger took one long leap over it to the other side. But when clumsy Groggle tried to leap over, he fell into the river with a big splash. He sank all the way to the bottom. And the bottom of the bottomless river is a long, long way down. Charger carried Sir Brian and Princess Millicent back to the palace. Everyone cheered and shouted. They were all glad that Princess Millicent was home again, and because the giant Groggle was gone, they even cheered Sir Brian. Sir Brian bowed and blushed, as only a brave and handsome knight can do. King Edwin said, "Well, my boy, you have brought my daughter back to me. You have shown yourself to be a brave knight. I will reward you by giving you half my kingdom." Sir Brian had received his heart's desire when the people cheered for him, but he thanked the king for his generous reward. Sir Brian lived at the palace so he could rule his half of the kingdom. Soon he and Princess Millicent were married, and it is told that late in the evening that the light, shimmery music of Sir Brian's lute would float over the castle wall, and in the moonlight Charger would toss his head, his mane flowing, his eyes glowing. The end. I hope that you liked that story. And I hope that you're having a great day. And I'll talk to you again soon. Bye.